What an incredibly catchy tune. Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday morning. It is the last Sunday of February. We're going into March. For those of you living up here in the Great White North, it's going to be in the 30s all week, which those of you who live in the South, that's awfully nice weather when it has been below zero for the wintertime. So we're getting towards spring. Another month, we should be almost fully fledged into spring, although we've had blizzards up here in April. I don't know what it's like for you down there in Louisiana. So good morning, everybody. Roger Rabbit, good to see you. I saw you quite early this morning. I think that might have even been last night. And Elderberry, good to see you. And who else we got in here? Grumpy Stack. How you doing down there in Louisiana? And Matthew Sainsbury, good to see you, brother. Inspiring presentation. Yes, it is. It's inspiring to me. I love that presentation. So if you're talking about the show entry, and who else we got in here so far this morning? Not too many yet, but that's okay. You all get in here. Field Guy, good to see you. Hope you're not having too much snow down there outside of New Orleans. And we got, who else? Matthew Sainsbury, Roger Rabbit, Grumpy Stack, and there's others in there just not visible. So good morning to everybody. I want to thank you for taking your time to come on in. And we are getting ever so much closer to doing the live radio show through Odyssey Radio. They are all set up. We're ready to go. We're just going to try to set up my show so I can do radio audio over at Odyssey and also do the visual over on my YouTube channel. So we're going to get that set up this week, and we should be that much closer to being ready to roll the show out in its new form. If you haven't had a chance yet, this show, we're playing archives of some of the old shows. Now, don't let that throw you. It's all very timely stuff. You're going to listen to some of these archives we've been putting up and not even know I'm not doing it live. And we played the whole series on the Jinn again. And we've been talking in archive form over on Odyssey Radio. Been doing the Nimrod, the biblical Nimrod, but the historical Nimrod as well. We were talking about the Tower of Babel and things like that. So that's been Mondays through Fridays, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Left Coast time. And then that show will rebroadcast the next morning at the same time, 12 hours earlier. And so if you want to take, you want to avail yourself of that, you can. You can also go to this link. Let me copy it and paste it. This link is my Spreaker channel that was put up. It's over in the chat room now. That was put up by Ron Phillips over from Odyssey Radio. And that is all the shows that go up there, whether they're archived shows or live shows. You will see them there probably later the same evening, nighttime, I should say, over on Spreaker. So if you go to that link, you'll see every show that we've put up over the last 10 days. I think there's 10 of them up there. It looks like it from here, maybe more, since we started playing the archives over at Odyssey Radio. And yes, I'm a streaker, Steph. I'll give you dates and times. I would love to have you in the audience. Speaking of streaking, I'm going to have to tell you the little hospital story, and that's coming up. We'll get there eventually. I think Raini is awake, and I don't know that she'll be joining us full-time this morning, but she might make an appearance. She might raise her head, and we'll see Raini-san. So if Raini hears me, you can come in if you want anytime this morning. She's not feeling good today. She thought she was having a migraine starting last night. She took her brother, the uncle to my kids, took Raini and the kids out ice fishing yesterday to a little local lake. And Ellery, come here. You got to tell your fish story. Tell your fish story.
I named my fish Bob.
You named him Bob? What kind of fish did you catch yesterday. You caught 2 of them, actually.
I almost caught 2.
Oh, you almost caught 2. She brought home, and he was still kicking in the plastic bag she put him in. He's outside. He's probably frozen now overnight. But you caught my brother. Ah! She caught a fish that was this big. It was a northern pike that she caught out of the lake. So that's pretty good fishing. She showed me. I thought she was going to show me a little perch or something about like that, but no, it was a big fish. So look at that. No fear of sharks. Hello, little bite. So they went fishing yesterday, ice fishing. She caught a big northern pike. That thing had to be, I'm going to say, about 18 inches, almost 16 to 18 inches from the looks of him. He was curled up in the plastic bag and he was flopping in there.
Go get him.
No, don't go get him. Don't bring him in here. He's probably dead and frozen. So congrats to Ellery for catching fish yesterday. And so, yes, Steph, I was in the hospital. I had, some of you already know this. You've read my posts over on my Facebook. On Tuesday of this last week, I went in because I was, for about a week, I was having pains in my left shoulder blade. Now, I've told you all heard the stories of my original heart attack and my surgery, all of that stuff. That was 5 years ago, and almost to the week. And I had been having for about 3 or 4 days at that time, my shoulder ached. And I thought it was an old rotator cuff injury that was acting up. And so I pretty much ignored it. And I wasn't having any other signs. And then that pain crawled into my armpit. And I thought, that's odd. What?
It stinks out there.
It stinks out where?
Outside.
Would you fart outside?
No, it was a fish.
Oh, the fish. How can he stink? He's frozen. He was alive yesterday afternoon and frozen overnight. So, now this last week, as you know, I've mentioned it before, I've had a couple of episodes over the last 5 years, 3, 4 episodes to count them, where I've had similar pain, shoulder, armpit, not feeling good. And I went in and sure enough, I was having heart attacks. And, but my heart attacks, knock on wood, have never seemed to be anything that is discernible other than feeling a little crappy and my shoulder hurts. And so all week, for a week, I felt it in my shoulder blade. Now, I sit hunched over at this table here when I illustrate, and I've been doing a heavy illustration work with the Sword in the Clay book, which I'll tell you more about. And also feeling back strain lately. And that back strain, I thought that just crept into my shoulder blade. I didn't feel anything in my chest, nothing in my front of my chest or my shoulder. So I let that go on for about a week and thinking, because the rest of my back hurt too. My muscle strained down the back of my ribs and stuff like that. And so finally on like Sunday and Monday of this last week, that started creeping around to the front. And that's when I started thinking, oh boy, here we go. And I remember sitting here on Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, and I was sitting here just sitting like this at my desk going, I feel like crap. I didn't feel like sick. I just felt crappy and fatigued. And I said to Raini, I hope this is not my heart again acting up. Now that just happened the last time in December. So, and what did they do in December? They did the angioplasty and they blew the stent up. They said your stent was collapsing again. And now that stent is the stent they put in 5 years ago. They put that in the night before I had surgery. They put the stent in, but the other artery, they came back in the morning and said, we didn't want to put a stent in that one. We think we're going to have to replace that one, which is what they did. That was for 5 years that stent has been there. But for the first time it hit was when I was in Utah working. And I had a little heart attack and I went in. And they didn't do anything to it then, but then I came home and I've had it 3 more times. And I thought I was sitting here Tuesday talking to Rainey saying, and now I only bring this up as it's great storytelling after a while. You can find if you can find the comic elements in it, it makes for fun storytelling, but also just for you guys, if you have somebody in your family, if it's you, your husband, your wife, to have these, watch for these signs because it wasn't clutching my chest and falling to the floor. It was pains in my shoulder. And this time, different than any other time, pains in my shoulder blade. And so Tuesday, Rennie was taking Ellie in for something at the doctor. Ellie or Rowan. Can't remember who was with us. And I said, you know what? I'm going to tag along. I'm going to walk over to the ER and find out what's going on. Was it you that went in on Tuesday? Mom took you in? Ellery. And headache. She was having headaches. So Rainey took her to the urgent care. Well, I went over to the ER and told them what was going on. And they put me immediately on EKG. And they said, wow, your heart now puts out an enzyme called troponin. 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 When it's under trauma or having a heart attack. And it's supposed to be, I believe, under like I don't know what the units of measure are, under 1, like 0.05 or something is normal, 0.3, something like that. Well, they measured my troponin and it was up to 5. They said, "You're having, according to this, an active heart attack." And I was standing there like this and I said, "Right now?" And I said, because now I don't feel the shoulder pain or anything, but my troponin levels were up. And so they said, we're going to have to send you up to Regent's Hospital in St. Paul, which is an ambulance ride. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And the first thing flashing through my mind is, I don't want to have heart surgery again. That is such a pain in the butt, even though it's only a pain in the chest. And so yada yada. They end up sending me up there. I get to Regent's Hospital. They do their EKG, and I'm at 9 for my troponin level, which is higher than it was when I had the original heart attack. Hey, Ro, how you doing? Say good morning to everybody.
Hi.
Fun fact: she doesn't care. So there I am. I'm at Regent's Hospital, and so they're going to take me into what they call the cath lab. That's to but whatever. And they go in and they check your stents and all that. And they just put you under, you're not all the way under, but they numb everything. And they usually go through the wrist or I don't think the armpit ever. They go up the arm and to the heart. Well, they always go through my groin. And so it's right down there. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. Well, ladies, you know what I'm talking about too. You know where a groin is. That crotch between your leg and your hoo-ha or your junk. And so I remember laying there on the table. I'm talking to the doc, and I said, "So are we getting started now?" He goes, "Hey, we're already up in there." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And there's a big screen, computer screen, so they kind of turn them and you can see them. And they don't turn it for me. It just happens to be at the right angle. And I'm watching them. And hey, Project Skyfalls and Scott Allen, good to see you. And whoever else slipped in and I just don't see you yet. And so I'm laying there, I'm watching the procedure, and he says, yeah, that stent has decreased in size. It's kind of collapsed on itself. And he said, and I said, this is the 3rd time that thing's collapsed. I said, the last time was just 2 months ago. And so he said, well, we'll blow it up. We'll see what we can do. And as we're talking, he said, what I see here, he says, this stent that they put in, he said 5 years ago, is too small. They put in the wrong size stent. He says, that's why it keeps collapsing. And now with all the other heart tests I've had in the last 5 months, they have told me your heart had nor deteriorated since after the surgery. Your heart's in great shape. So it's not like it's getting worse or my heart is degrading. It's not. It's in the same shape it was in after they performed the surgery. And so I said, well, what's going on? Why does this keep happening? I said, what am I doing? Is it something I'm doing wrong? Is it just because I'm not working out regularly? Is it my diet? And he said, well, all of those things count. He says, but this has happened to you like 4 times now. He says, probably because the stent is too small that they put in. I said, you're kidding me. And of course, I'm not thinking lawsuit, 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 malpractice. That's not the first thing that flashes across my mind. I'm like, really? They put in the wrong size? He goes, yeah, it's way too small. And he said, now, there's only so many times you can blow up a stent before they've got to go in and replace it. And not replace the stent, meaning replace the vein, the artery, which means cracking your chest open again and another bypass. And so I said, okay, so if my heart is not degraded and there's just clogging or closing down of the stent, and we find out it's the wrong size stent they put in, all these episodes I have had that you have heard me talk about over the last couple of years are all due to the fact that the stent that they put in was too small, not because my heart's worse. So, yeah, thanks, Doug. That's what Rainey said, Scotty, it's too small. Yeah, I've got comments, but this is a kid's show. So, anyway. Yeah, Fieldy, they usually take a vein from the leg. Now, they didn't take it from my leg because I'm also diabetic, and my circulation to my legs is not the best. And so they took a vein out of this side of my chest somewhere and used that to do the graft. And so what else was I going to say? But so we come out of the surgical procedure, and I go, that's weird. And that's when I put up that post. For those of you who've seen my Facebook posts on these, I put up that post that said, so I find out from the doc today that the stent they put in, blah, blah, blah. The story I just told you. So, let me move this thing. That is like way too bright in my face. And so, right away, I have a couple of attorney friends that are on my Facebook. I get messages from them, unprompted from me, unsolicited. It says, you need to call this guy about malpractice that I've worked with. And so I put in a call on Friday, and we'll see what's up with that. So the only problem that I see with this, I'm not a litigious type of person. The first thing in my mind is not, I'm going to go after these people and see if I can get lots of money. No, I don't think that way initially. But the people around me are like, you need to pursue this. So I'm going to look into it. But here's the deal. All these times that I've had downtime, all these heart problems, everything they've done could very well be the direct result of not having the right size stent in there, and it keeps shutting down, closing up. So, and they have to go in and blow it up again. So now, none of this has cost me any money out of pocket. Thank goodness, as far as actual physical costs, material costs. We're on insurance. We've got insurance, and it covers everything. And we don't have a deductible on any of this kind of heart stuff. It just like when I had my heart surgery done 5 years ago, our insurance covered it almost 100%. It was a procedure that cost over $100,000 to have that bypass and the week stay in the hospital. I got a bill afterwards for $7.35. There was like my participation payment or something. And I said, yeah, you're never going to see that. I'm going to Mexico. No, so I had $7. I paid it with the credit card, $7.35. But hey, Iowa X, good to see you. Hey, Romeldian, good to see you as well. Ron Frisbee, good to see you. And so Steph, yeah, that's what happened this week. I went in on Tuesday, and so I was there Tuesday noonish, afternoonish to I came home Thursday afternoon. And so they did this procedure, and guess what? Felt like $1,000,000 afterwards. That happened the first time they did that. Because what have they done? They've opened that vein back up, and the blood flows, right? And I remember the first time I had that done, it was like in 20 minutes. I was like, I feel like I could play football. So I came home, I felt pretty good. And the last couple of days, I felt great. And now I stayed up way too late last night. So if you're seeing circles under my eyes and all that, I don't look like that all day long unless I don't sleep long enough. I stayed up way too late. I tinkering with stuff and doing stuff and all of that. Building the new see the strip here around the picture. That's all I replaced that I built new for when the new radio show starts. So I did that. Yeah, like Tony the Tiger field guy, exactly. So now here's the fun story. You like poop stories, kiddos? Well, I got a poop story for you. I told this to my dad the other day, who's usually pretty reserved when we talk on the phone. I even got him to laugh. So here I am. It's the day that the procedure took place, which was Wednesday. They did it late morning on Wednesday, I think, noon, something like that. And in the early evening, and they come in and, you got the nurses will check your crotch to make sure you're not bleeding. Because what they had to do is they have to tap into the femoral artery and run a fiber optic up that and tools, whatever they use to replace and blow up the stent and all of that. So they check you like it felt like every 10 minutes. There was some nurse coming and go, I got to check your wound. And, they flip back your stuff and you're trying to cover your junk. And they act like, well, we don't care. We see junk all the time. And they're checking, and the one nurse says, oh my God, you're bleeding. Now, if you bleed from a wound to the femoral artery or a procedure, you could die in 10 minutes. You could bleed out. And so they see blood, and all the red lights come on. And so suddenly there's the one nurse was there. She was kind of tall and lean. Of course, I'm laying down in bed, so I wasn't standing at the time, so I don't know quite how tall she was, but she looked tall and lean and pregnant. She looked like she was about 4 months pregnant. And then there was a short, kind of pudgy, real pretty eyes, Muslim nurse whose English was okay, and heavy accent. She was wearing the hijab and a mask. Of course, they all wear masks, and everybody's got a mask on. And the Muslim nurse had a mask on, but she was like, to the accent, and I'm gonna get blood, okay? I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And the other nurse said, she's hard to understand. And so I got these two nurses there, but the shorter one, she's a trainee. And I mean, she's gone through all her education and all that, but her hands-on training. And so the lean pregnant nurse says, here, we got to apply pressure to this. And as they're doing this, they must have pressed a button because in comes who I've affectionately called Gunther Brunhilde. She's a beautiful, nice, older nurse, taller, big, and heavy set. And but obviously the personality I got, wonderful person. But she's in there and she starts taking charge. She goes, you've got to put pressure on that so he doesn't bleed out. And we got to put pressure. And so the lean nurse, she puts pressure on it. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I said, she pressed on that so hard. Take your elbow, body weight on your partner, or get your friend to do this. It's a little experiment. have your friend take off their clothes and put your elbow in their crotch and lean all your body weight into it. Or you can be professional and say, we're going to do this professionally. I'm going to use my hands. Put all your body weight into that and see how long it takes them to flail and cry out in horrific pain. Now, I had no pain where the incision was, but the only pain is this nurse leaning all her body weight, all her 98 pounds plus a baby cooking in the oven, and putting pressure on that wound. And I said, oh my God. I said, I think you're crushing my pancreas. And she wasn't paying much attention to me. She said, we got to put pressure on. I go, well, maybe it's not my pancreas. Maybe it's something else down there. You're crushing it. And I am in pain from the pressure being put on my crotch. Now, I thought applying pressure meant you got a wound and you go, and you put pressure on it to keep it from bleeding out. And she said, well, we've got to put pressure on this. I said, I put pressure on wounds before. And I lied. I was storytelling. I said, I've put pressure on horrific gun wounds before, and it hasn't been this much, and the guy lived. So they're putting pressure on. Then she's showing the little Muslim nurse. This is what you do. And the little Muslim nurse did it. And she's like, and I'm like, that feels better, but and she said, no. Then the older nurse, who I've named for the sake of the story, Gunther Brunhilda, she came over and says, no, this is how you do it. And she does it. And I thought she was going to break my tailbone through the front side. And I'm flailing and I'm kicking. And she says, you got to hold still. I said, I'm holding as still as I can. I said, and I got the other. She goes, you can kick around with the other leg, but leave this one still. And I go, that's the one that hurts. And I'm not being a dick. I'm trying to be fun and comedic at the same time. And, and I'm like, guys, you're killing me here. And then they're pushing. Now, where they're pushing is really kind of lower abdomen, but right above the crotch area. And so I say, you keep pushing like that, I'm going to shit the bed. And because I had to go anyway. And they're like, oh, you can't get up. You can, if you have to poop, you can do it in a bedpan. I said, I ain't pooping in a bedpan in front of 3 female nurses. Now, it could have been guy nurses. It wouldn't matter. Who likes to, let me ask by show of hands, how many of you here would like to drop trow and poop in a bedpan in front of 3 people? Not I. So I said, we'll get the bedpan. And I said, I'll hold it as best I can. And then they keep pushing on that. Oh, we've got to hold this for 20 minutes, they said. I said, 20 minutes? And they said, the first 5, you got to put on all this extreme pressure. And so I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And so they're pushing. And not a minute later, I'm like, ladies, I said, I'm going to shit. I said, and somebody had let up. And I said, I'm going to the bathroom. And I started to get up. They pushed me back down. They said, no, you can't get up. And I said, am I bleeding? Is it spurting out all over? Am I spraying the room with my blood? No. I said, let me go poop. I said, at this rate, I'm going to walk in there, drop it, and I'll be back out in probably 30 seconds. I said, it's there. And folks, now you know what I mean by this. I don't mean to be deliberately gross, but you know the kinds of poop you're going to produce when you're ready to go. If you get a normal poop signal, like you get the 2-minute warning, and you go, that's going to be a nice log. I'm going to lay some pipe. I'm going to drop some decent Duke. You know the difference between 15 seconds and and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be solid. It's going to be bad. And of course, I'd had all these chemicals pumped into me, and everything went through me. And so I knew it was coming. I knew what was coming. And because they're pushing on me, you're throwing out a little bit of gas. And I could tell by that alone, not only is it not going to be pretty physically, it's not going to be pretty to the olfactory nerves, meaning it's going to stench to high heaven like rotting corpses. And so I said, you keep pushing like that. I said, let me go to the bathroom. They wouldn't let me use the bathroom, which is 3 feet away. So little Muslim nurse, she grabs the bedpan. I said, I am not shitting in the bedpan. And they said, well, if you think you can hold it, but you're not getting up. So, hey, Mike, Yehudi. Hey, Elderberry. Smelly, silent, and violent. Yes, Elderberry. And I see other conversation going on. I'm not ignoring you all, just telling this story. So, sure enough, lo and behold, it's coming. They're putting their pressure on to save my life. And I said, it's coming. I said, okay, you win. Bedpan it is. I said, this is not going to be pretty. And I said, I warn you all, this is not going to be pretty. You're lucky you're wearing masks. I said, but if you can smell what I'm about to do through that mask, you don't need to wear that mask for anything else either. And they're all like, we wish we could lose the masks. By the way, everybody at the hospital, they said, we're vaccinated because we had to be vaccinated or we would have lost our jobs. A lot of people lost their jobs up there. And they said, and we wouldn't be wearing the masks if we didn't have to. We're being forced to wear the masks. And do you know how many, not that this is necessarily a correlation, but do you know how I found out how many of those doctors and nurses were Trump supporters? How many of them were anti-Biden? How many of them were anti-mask and anti-vax, but only took it because they needed to for their job? Anyway, that's another story. So I go, ladies, stand back. Here it comes. I said, I don't think you want to be compressing my crotch as this unleashes. Stand back. And I went, release the hounds. And I'm flailing, by the way. And I yelled, release the hounds. Poosh. There it went. I go, here it comes. Whoosh. You know the kind of poop I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It was not a pile. It was not a tube. It was not solid. It didn't even remotely resemble solid. It squished out of me like it was unbelievable. And the smelled like I was pooping out a rotting corpse. So I filled that bedpan in about 2 seconds. And I said, I'm done. I said, commence compressing. And then went right back into compressing. So I'm laying there on a bed. And by the way, as they're doing all of this, they threw back the sheet and the blanket. They threw back my gown. I'm flapping in the breeze. And so I'm naked from about the rib cage down. They're compressing the wound. And I'm shitting in a bedpan in front of 3 women. If that was not the most degrading, humiliating, humbling moment of my life, I can't think of another one. So I dealt with it the best way I could. I went into comedy mode. Comedy mode rather than commode. And but I was immediately after that, immediate calm came over me. It was like, I said, commence with the compression. And so they went right back into compressing me. And they waited until I was, are you sure you're all done? Yeah. And they said to the small Muslim nurse, who was kind of the trainee, they said, why don't you take that bedpan and go dump that out? And so she immediately reaches in to get the bed, and I try to move. They go, don't move. We'll move you. And they roll me over, and she takes out the bedpan. And of course, my ass cheeks have been sitting in this bedpan for the last like 2 minutes. And I'm like, no, it was longer than that. I think it was there for about, because I started telling stories. So they're compressing. I'm sitting with my ass cheeks in a bedpan full of vile liquid defecate. So we hear you're an author. What's your book about? I said, are you kidding? I said, really? You want to hear about my book? And I went, let me clear the air so I can take a breath. And so I start telling the story of the sword and the clay. Well, this is what my book is about. Mud butt. There it is, Ryan Gale. Mud butt. Hey, Siani. Yeah, it was mostly water. From what I could tell, it wasn't the color of water, however. So, hey, traces of life. Shit through a screen door at 50 yards and never hit a wire. Boom! That's it. So, release the Kraken. Kraken jokes. The only Kraken joke that came in, and I didn't use the word Kraken. I said, guess what? I said, now because I can't get it, you get to wipe my ass crack too. They said, yes, we do. And so I said, well, that was degrading. And they said, we've seen worse. And I'm sure they use that line on everybody. I'm sure they'll go into some little old lady who accidentally, ooh, pees a teaspoonful of pee in the bed while they're doing a procedure. And they'll go, oh, we've seen worse. There was this guy. So I unleashed the devil's hound. The devil's, not even a hound. The devil's stream. The river Styx flowed from my sphincter. And so I'm sitting there, they're compressing, I'm telling the story of Will Bird and finding a sword, and my ass cheeks are, half deep in a bedpan full of liquid shite. And finally they take it out and they remove it and they roll me over and they got to wipe it. I go, you got to wipe it too. I said, now. I said, I haven't had my ass wiped by another person for 60 years. So, cheers, I said. Yeah, doctors are paid. Matt Finn, Master Finn. Yeah, that's exactly it. We've seen worse, let me tell you, says Ron Frisbee. And so, yeah, I didn't tell Rocky this story yet. I typed it to him in brief. And so, I'll have to regale him with this story soon. So, that's the story of that little episode. There's a kid's book in there somewhere. You know, Daddy shits in bed, or something like that. We'll have to think of an appropriate title. It's an adventure story. Yo ho! A pirate's life for me. I gotta tell you this story about my time on the poop deck. So, anyway, there it is. Roger says, did they have to tape the Nestorius lap hog up and out of the way? Yes. You remember that story, huh? Oh, no, that was only for my my snip surgery a few years back. And they flip it up and they tape it. They had to tape it almost to my chest. No, I'm modest. It was only up to my navel. Something cool after that story. So, that's what my week was like. And after that, out of this whole story, They looked at the bandage where they had seen blood. It was the blood from when they originally put the bandage on. I wasn't even bleeding. So all that compressing, all that shitting in a bedpan didn't have to happen. So, but now I have the experience and the story to tell. So, poo doo doo would be a title. That's it, Elderberry. Tapegate, says Matt Finn. That's it. It's mudbutt, Charlie Brown. Isn't there a muggle term that's mudbutt? Mudbloods? Mudbloods. It's going to be mudbutts. We could put it in a Harry Potter theme. Field guy went and got food. Well, good for you. I'm drinking coffee. Traces of life. Glad you're okay. Thank you, Traces. I'm doing great. And that's the upside to the whole thing. The doc said when he told me that the stent was too small that they had put in, he said, I kind of blew it up as much as I could. And now, by the way, he did refer me. He said, there's a doctor I would like to get you in touch with from the University of Minnesota, their research department. He said he did kind of an experimental procedure with stents. And he said, we can't do much more. Stents have a notoriously short shelf life to begin with. And he said, now you've had this thing blown up 3 times. He says, I don't think there's going to be much left they can do after that other than cutting it out and replacing the artery, which is cracking me open and doing another bypass. I said, I don't want to do that. Is there another option? He said, there is this experimental thing. And he says, it's really beyond experimental. It's getting a lot of attention. And so I'm going to meet with this cardiologist sometime, I think, in the next week or so as a follow-up to this procedure. And we're going to get a referral to that guy and go see him and see what he does to do this. Mudslide, never going to order one again. That's it, Iowa. Ain't that the truth? And next time you order a mudslide or a chocolate shake, I want you to think of me. That's actually what it felt like, except it was warm. Felt like I am pooping out 4 chocolate shakes. That was the consistency, I think. Scotty Scat. What's the name of your new mudslide drink? I call it Scotty Scat. So thank you, Elderberry. I appreciate that. All right, Siani, thank you, by the way. Siani's referring to something we're working on. That's why I didn't get any work done on that this week, by the way. I was gone most of the week and feeling like, pardon me for saying it, no pun intended, feeling like shit most of the end of last week. So, and again, no clutching of the chest, none of that. It was all just feeling like crap, feeling fatigued, having no energy, unable to even have a conversation without going, yeah. So, so I felt like $1 million when I got home, and I feel pretty good now. Now, I was tired, of course. I slept a little longer than I usually do the last couple of days. And let's see. That line will live in infamy. Pooping chocolate shakes. There it is, brother. Warm chocolate shakes. Let's see. Siani says, it's been 2 weeks of hell for my family. I'm glad you're feeling better. Things have calmed down here now. Well, that's good. Share anything with us you want to. Now, by the way, if anybody wants to call in, I did put the, was this it? Oh, nope, that's the wrong thing I copied. That, by the way, is the link to the Spreaker site set up for me by Ron Phillips at Odyssey Radio. All of my archived shows that I'm doing. Now, I haven't done a live show yet on the new Odyssey. I'm doing old archived shows. These are shows that are all from 2 years ago. They're from February of 2020. And I did 6 shows on the Jinn, and I did a few more shows on Nimrod and the Tower of Babel, things like that. They're actually pretty good. I listened to them, and I'm like, wow, I sound fairly articulate in these. They are politic-free for the most part. So, although I skipped one episode. I had the first half. I was talking about the Democrat convention and my take on it, and so I didn't play that one as an archive. Oh, Siani, I remember that now. That situation. I'm sorry to hear about that. That's tough. So Siani had two family members in Washington State that were found murdered after missing for 4 days. So I'm sorry about that. I remember seeing about that. I may have been in the hospital when I saw the article on that you posted. Hey, Robert V. Good to have you here, brother. So, if you want to go see, that's the link I posted to my Spreaker. If you want to call in for any reason, if you've got something you want to share with us this morning, let me paste this in now. There is the call in link to the studio. If you want to come into the studio on camera and microphone and talk a little bit, you got something to share with us, come on in. The line is open. So other than that, I want to ask you guys, when I start the new Intrepid radio show, the new incarnation over at the new incarnation, the reincarnation of Odyssey Radio, what kinds of fare do you want to hear? Now, I've got my stuff set, and you can see in the little scroll bar on the bottom, I put them all in there, all the things that we do. Not only are the websites on there of all the stuff, I do ancient mysteries and history, the unexplained, and hello, Mom. Not my mom, Mom Raini, my kid's mom, passing through in a scant string tank top and boxer shorts. And but spirituality, UFO phenomenon, paranormal stuff, the weird, the unexplained, science, psychology when we get into some of that stuff, ancient mysteries, history, archaeology, those are all things we do with this show. If you got some topics that you would like to hear about, I'm just starting to put together a little agenda for the things I want to be talking about as we move forward. I'm looking into this book right now. This is an old book I had picked up, and I started looking at this. It's sitting here on my desk. King Solomon's Ring. This is all about the Ring of Power. And let's see if there's a little intro here. It's called King Solomon's Ring, New Light on Animal Ways. And it starts like this. This is the part of the foreword. It's a long forward, so I'm not going to read it all. And it's an older book. When did this come out? It's a paperback, so it's probably the 60s. Maybe even the 70s when this came in. 1952 is the copyright on this little book. I found this at a thrift store, and I picked it up for $0.25. And King Solomon's Ring, we mentioned the King Solomon's Ring once before. If you look at like Tolkien and, One Ring to Rule Them All, this is the stuff that was built on these legends, this old legend of, hey, good morning, beautiful. How you doing? You don't feel good? I'm sorry. You look good. Remember, it's not how you feel, it's how you look. Old Billy Crystal bit. So it starts and it says, Conrad Lorenz, and this is Julian Huxley, by the way, that wrote this forward. Conrad Lorenz is one of the outstanding naturalists of our day. Sorry, I have got to put on my bifocals for this. He says, Conrad Lorenz is one of the outstanding naturalists of our day. I've heard him referred to as the modern Fabre, but with birds and fishes instead of insects and spiders as his subject matter. However, he is more than that, for he's not only, like Fabre, a provider of an enormous volume of new facts and penetrating observations with a style of distinction and charm, but in addition has contributed in no small degree to the basic principles and theories of animal mind and behavior. For instance, it is to him more than any other single man that we owe our knowledge of the to the strange of releaser and imprinting mechanisms. And the reader of this book, who's followed the account of how Lawrence himself became imprinted on his baby goslings at their birth, or as their parent. How did I get at their birth? And my mind went there. Or how his jackdaws regard him as their general leader and companion, but chose other corvine birds so long as they were on the wing as flight companions, and fixed on his maid servant as a love object, or how certain attributes or gestures on the part of a fighting fish or a wolf will act as releasers to promote or inhibit combat reactions in another individual of their species. We'll realize not only the strangeness of the facts, but the fundamental nature of the principles that underlie them. So this is obviously a book on birds. It's a book on, here it says right here in the subtitle, a classic nature book by one of the world's outstanding scientists, an absorbing and beautiful book. And this was written in 1952. And King Solomon's Ring, he calls it. And it's all about, he's taking the whole ring of power approach. He's not getting into mythology here, but he's talking how the things that control our personality, the things that control the way we do things. And it says on the back cover, King Solomon's Ring is one of the most delightful books ever written about animals and their habits. In the 9 years since its publication, it's been accepted as a classic. Julian Huxley calls Dr. Lawrence one of the outstanding naturalists of our day. He has shared his home, on terms of intimacy and affection with lemurs, mongooses, cockatoos, sticklebacks, water shrews, and most remarkable under the circumstances, a loyal and patient wife. King Solomon's Ring permits us to enjoy all the keen observance and philosophical speculations of a distinguished and very human scientist. The result is a series of fascinating descriptions of the behavior of animals and birds, scientifically accurate yet permeated with humor, affection, and human interest. Few authors can match Dr. Lawrence's felicitous air for precise but evocative description, or his wonderful way with a humorous anecdote. King Solomon's Ring is that rare phenomenon, a book that will give equal satisfaction to the serious student of natural history as well as to any reader who loves a great book. So we're going to talk about that once or twice, King Solomon's Ring. So I thought that was a very interesting book. So stuff like that. Who wants to listen to a radio show about birds, animals? I do, if it's interesting and it gets into psychology and it gets into interesting study and it talks about some of the natural elements. I can see how he's tying Solomon's Ring into it. So it'll be an interesting topic. We'll hit that sometime along the way. I've got other things too that I'm going to be talking about. You see all these books down here? 3 shelves of books there. I got books all over there. Well, not so many books over there. That's the, let me get that out of the way. That's kind of my geek shelf over there. See Captain Kirk way up on the top. You see my lightsabers up there. And all my stuff from Egypt and all that. And there's books. There's some cool books. All those books down there are books that I want to, they're topics I want to talk about. Oh, and by the way, you see all that? See all those tumblers down there? These are all the offshoots. These are all the ones that had mistakes on them and things like that. But we're selling them all for about half price. I'll put up a little ad. If you see anything in the pictures that we put up that you want to get, we've got them. Some of them are offshoots. Some of them are onesies. There's a lot of the Star Trek mugs are up there. And other ones up there that we've done. So that's coming. And anyway, you can't see it. And I don't know if I can even turn this far enough. Let's see. Oh, maybe I can. What am I knocking over? So we got the big bookshelves over there, all full of stuff. Bookshelves over there. Bookshelves over there. We got all of my books that we don't have room for over there. Bookshelves over there. bookshelves there, 1,000 books easily in this room alone. So there's so much material here that I've collected books on and started reading and started putting things together for this show. That and so much resource material. So we've got, I think, some good stuff going on. Barry, where are you going? Hey, Leslie Holker. I saw your name in there somewhere. Good to see you this morning. By the way, I want to thank you. I want to thank you publicly. I hope you don't mind this. My kids are in a reading program at school, a special program where they're raising money for, I don't even know. Rainey knows all the details of that. It's a reading thing, and you pledge to kids. It's like if I run a mile, for every mile I run, you donate 10 cents or something like that. It's for every book they read or something, or numbers of books, and they get to win prizes. It's a reading program. And Leslie, I want to thank you for what you did for my two girls. Flynn's not in that program. He's already in middle school. It is a totally different thing. But Rainey just told me last night what you did for the girls, and I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you. And it means a lot to those girls. And so they're just out doing a fun, I don't know what hey, Rainey! Rainey! She can't hear me. So I was going to say what those funds are being used for. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know if it's for the library. I don't know what it's for exactly. Hey, Rowan! Come here a second. Rowan will know. It's her program. But thanks again, Leslie. That was awesome. And by the way, Leslie, I have been recalcitrant on this. Guess whose cup that is? It's not used. It's sitting here with the box. I was going to go get bubble wrap because we were out of bubble wrap. Guess whose mug that is? That's Leslie's mug she bought like 8 weeks ago. We'll get that out in the mail hopefully this week. Hey, come around here. Or no, that's good. As long as people can see you. What's this reading program about that you're raising money on? What's the money for on that?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know either? I don't know either.
They didn't tell us.
Is it for a library? Is it for who does the money go to?
I have no idea.
Do me a favor. Go ask Mom. She's in there. Mom's taking a bath. That's how she feels right now. So I don't think she's going to make it in today. But she's soaking in Epsom salts, I think. So, but we'll find out. But thank you again, Leslie. That was amazing. And Scotty, just say, Mom, 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 Mom. Yeah, you remember that? Remember that Stewie from Family Guy? Remember that scene? What does Mom say?
Goes to the school, whatever the school's raising money.
Oh, it's just a fundraiser for the school. Probably the library because it's connected to reading. You got pants on, don't you?
Yeah, I got shorts on.
Okay, that's good. Volleyball shorts.
Well, I have volleyball at 12.
I know. You do. Volleyball at 12. So, yeah, Grumpy Stack is, Mom. 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 Mom.
Ow.
Mama.
Stop.
Mama.
Stop.
Mama. Mumsy. Mom. Mom. She finally goes, after about 5 minutes of that, she goes, what? He goes, I love you. And runs off. So, Stewie. So, I'm not a huge fan of that show. I watch it every now and then, but I saw that clip once and I busted a nut laughing. I want you to get down. Even those are volleyball shorts. It looks like you're standing in underwear on camera. And so why don't you come on down?
Well, I want to get into the ceiling.
No, you don't need to get into the ceiling for any good reason.
But what if there's a lot?
I like your braids. So, the parent group of Somerset, thank you, Leslie, Elementary School is raising money so we can offer our teachers grants, continue to offer our kids gifts at the annual holiday shop. There it is. And to host our end of the year family event. Well, there it is. Thanks, Leslie. Rainy knows. She just tells me we're doing this fundraiser, and I go, okay, cool. And yeah, Rainy's talking to us from the bath. There's good radio for you. So, hey, will you do me a favor? Row,
No, I'm not making it anymore.
add some coffee to that. Throw a little bit of creamer in it. Throw it in the microwave for a minute. It's cold. Says who? Says my mom. My mom's not here. You're not my mom. Smart ass kids. Scotty, can you do a remote show at my shop? I sure can, Doug. I require first class airfare and executive suite at the hotel and limo service, please. But yeah, I can. I can do a remote from your shop. Hell yeah. Anywhere there's internet, I can do remote. See what that says? Coffee, 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 coffee. This is not coffee. This is just a mixed, like, energy drink that I drink. Duh. What else am I going to do with a drink other than drink it? Operation Storm. Operation Storm the trailer. There it is. I'll pick you up in my banger. All right. I'll be here. You say when. You cover food costs. So there you go. That's some of the stuff that's coming up. I've got other things coming up on the show that I want to talk about as well. Hopefully, we're about a week out from really launching the resurrection of Intrepid Radio. Now, do you know why I liked the not live shows, the shows I would record earlier in the day? Because I could edit them a bit. The live shows are great for interacting. Great for like this show. This is fun. I haven't seen anybody call in yet, unless I missed you. Just didn't see you come in. And I got the gas covered, Grumpy. Just pull my finger. I forgot what I was saying. Must not have been important, huh? So anyway, I was talking about shows that we're going to be doing with the and the new show. I always liked the audio because it's more slick and polished. I can throw in my ad bumps, I can throw in my music bumps, and all of that kind of thing. Thank you very much.
Dad,
What do you got there?
This is my food I have to put in the microwave.
What is that? Oh, I see.
It's steak and mashed potatoes.
There's Rowan's leftovers in frozen form. Well, you go have a good meal.
I think they're gonna have to go in the microwave for like 10 minutes.
Smells good, even frozen. It's like stew with green beans and stuff. So, anyway, that's how we cook for our kids. Hey, throw that in the microwave for 2 minutes. So, coffee. Good morning. I'm not calling in today. I gained 194 pounds in 20 minutes. How'd you do that? I missed something. So, back to listening. My granddaughters are bugging me. I know how that is, Leslie. Not from grandkids, just from my own kids. So, what else we got going on? Amelia just told Lily that's Scotty Roberts. He's the one who wrote Tam O'Hare. Well, thank you. Hopefully soon she'll say he's the one who wrote The Sword and the Clay. Not the same kind of story. It's not animals, but I think it'll be a fun story for most everybody. You know, you're all familiar with Reuben Fasthorse. Now, Reuben had some head surgery done. He ran into an open door, he said, in the middle of the night, cracked his face on the edge of the door, opening the bathroom door somehow, and he fell backward and cracked his head. And he's got a scar going from here all the way back to here. They had to cut open his head and release blood out of it was accumulating on his brain. They had to drill holes into his skull. And I was talking to him yesterday the day before together these days. And he was telling me that, he's waking up, he's seeing light differently and hearing things differently and all of this. And he's wondering and he's feeling better than he's felt in a very long time. And so I see Milky Way Soul Tribe. I'll get you to you in just a second here. So hang on, Milky Way. And so Ruben and I, we told you we've been talking about writing a book together and for a couple of years. And that book is going to, it's starting to take shape now that Sword in the Clay is done and I'm finishing up archaeology. Ruben and I want to write a book through Manitou Free Traders Press, a historical book, and we're developing two characters that are basically Ruben and I set back into the colonial era, and Native American and colonial, and talking about the comparative, the Fae and the elementals in this first story we're talking about. So teach Native American culture and heritage along with Celtic culture and heritage. So that's going to be a book that we may be working on in the near future. So anyway, let me get to Milky Way. I'm going to call you in. Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I am doing good. I'm still trying to catch up on sleep from our long show.
Yeah, we had a long show, didn't we?
Yes.
I talked too much.
It was great. It was great. Though I learned so much, and I just wanted to call in and come on and say thank you for coming on. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it. I am still trying to digest it all. It was it was super. It was really super.
Thank you. Well, that stuff, you start talking about one facet of that and it opens up to this facet and then to that one, and suddenly you're talking about 8 different things and you try to keep tying the knot back in.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Usually I do pretty good on trying to keep the everybody on track, even if we divert a little bit. And I guess that's that's supposed to be what the host does. He tries to keep you on track, and man, we were going real good, but then you diverted a little bit. But it was so interesting, I just couldn't stop.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, it's fun to talk about that stuff. It's fun when I get the opportunity to just when it's not my show and I get to just blether and I always say, I used to say it facetiously, I'd say put a nickel in me and I'll talk for 4 hours. And so you gave me a couple of nickels.
Yeah.
And we just went on.
We did it was a 3-hour thing. I was like, holy cow. But I was never expecting it to go that long. But hey, you had a nap and you woke up and you were fully energized.
Well, I was 15 minutes late, something like that.
Yeah.
It was Teresa D'Antone called me. I'm laying there just lounging, waking up. I had fallen asleep for what day did we do that? Was that before I was in the hospital or after?
It was a Saturday night.
It was a week ago.
Yeah.
And I remember I was tired. That was part of leading up to why I was at the hospital. I was just fatigued. I was tired, and I laid down, and I thought, sure, I'll get some good. And I totally, when I woke up, I was disoriented. I'm just laying there. I got my TV is on, and I'm like, where am I?
Well,
and she called and woke me up fully.
Oh yeah, Well, we've all had that problem once in a while. So
yeah,
you get a free pass. But
I tried to make up for it.
you definitely did, and it was very interesting. And I got the next book, and I'm reading that, the Nephilim.
All right.
And so hopefully I can have you back on. We'll do another show with that, and because it's really interesting. Those things, how they all intertwine.
Yes,
it does. It really does. And you write really well. Your book is really nice. I suggest everybody go out there and check it out. If nothing else, check it out.
I think I've got one sitting here, and at least flash it up.
So do I. I don't know where I put it. It's in my pile.
Well, we got
along with the 400 other.
We got
books.
that one. That's one we should talk about sometime. There's the Exodus book with John Ward and I
wrote
that one together. And we've got, this is the one we talked about, Reptilians. And I think Nephilim is the one I don't have any of anymore.
Oh, man.
And by the way, folks, that is the original. We found this in a box. That is the original Tam O'Hare, the way that came out. And I've got, it came out about a year after that picture was taken of Raini and me. So,
wow.
So there you go.
That's a while ago.
That was 2008.
I hate to ask, but what's Tam O'Hare about? It looked on the cover like a kid's book almost.
It is. I don't have the color version here. This is the publisher did this in black and white, other than the cover. And that's Tam O'Hare. He's an Irish lord, and his young squirrel squire Horatio McNutt. And the story is about. It's set in real history. It's set in the 1500s, Tudor England, Ireland, Scotland. It's during the reigns, right smack in the middle of the reigns of Mary, Queen of Scots, and Queen Elizabeth of England, and their conflict that was going on prior to Mary going under house arrest for 20 years. And Tam is an Irish lord, and he's got his young squire. They're going on an adventure to America, the Americas. And but they're sidetracked. They get a message that Tam's little niece or cousin, so many family members removed, has been stolen by the fairy folk, the Fae. And his great uncle is a clan chieftain of the MacDervish clan in Scotland. So they travel to Scotland, and they go go through all these different things to try to find out. The elderly uncle asks Tam if he could find the little girl who's been stolen. And it takes you through, there's pirate adventures. Tam acquires a pirate ship by winning it from the captain. He's got a crew of raccoon pirates. There's Queen Elizabeth and Mary, Queen of Scots. They're foxes. So all the different animals, the royals are foxes and bears and lions and things like that, while the Irish and the Scottish and the Welsh, they're woodland creatures. But all the clothing you can see here, all the clothing I've done is accurate to the times, and the ships and the castles and all that. And it's illustrated, but this first edition that came out was illustrated like this. This is how they printed it. It was black and white.
Yeah.
So that's Tam and his raccoon crew. So
did you do the illustrations?
Yes.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So I did the illustrations as well. And who was this one signed to? Oh, this was to Raini's grandmother, who just passed away. So Raini found this at her house the last couple of months. But so that's the story, and it's all the adventures he goes to find the girl in the fairy realm, the little girl. And he eventually gets there, and so I won't tell you anything more about what happens there. But I bought the rights to the book. Right? Read the book. I got the rights to the book, and I re-released this in color, in a larger format. And I used to have one sitting here, and I gave that away to somebody. So I don't have any here right now. But so that's The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare. That came out in 2008, and late 2007, and then they asked me to add more illustrations for another edition, which I did. I added like 5 more illustrations to the book, and they re-released it, but it was in black and white too. And so I did a total redo of the book, and it's got the green cover. If you look on Amazon, it's got the green cover on it instead of the red. And so that was my first published book. And after that came Nephilim in 2012, and 2013 was Reptilians, and later in 2013 came the Exodus Reality. If you have not gotten this book, this was the funnest book of all to write. Out of all my non-fictional books, you can say, they gave me pretty much a free hand with this one. It's 80,000 words. It's John and I spent a month. Now he's a British archaeologist, lives in Luxor, Egypt, half of the year. And so I went over for a month, and we traveled around for a month. We had two different theories on who we thought the historical Moses might have been, and the Exodus, only separated by about 60 to 70 years in generations. The same dynastic house. And you can't see him right now, but that bust there is my guy for Moses. But this book, the fun thing about this book, it's got all these here. It's got all these pictures in it. I mean, it's got a ton of pictures, and they gave us, you can see here, 2 color sections in the book. So it's like this. Here's some of the maps I did for it, and but the fun thing about this book when you read it is if you get bored with the reading, you just turn to the color section. You can look at all the pictures, and it's the stuff.
My gosh, you went all out on this.
This was a fun book to create.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a buddy travel log type of a book as well. We went up to the top of what we believed was Mount Sinai, Serabit el Khadim in the Sinai, and we made it's one of the fun pictures. Well, first, I love that big long picture. That's us walking down the processional road to Karnak Temple, and that runs in a straight line. It's the Avenue of Sphinxes. Those Sphinxes line both sides for 3.5 miles, all the way down to Karnak temples. Wow. But so there's John and I. We're walking down the processional. But this picture here, where we are making mud bricks while smoking cigars and drinking coffee. So, but that was fun stuff. But this is a fun book, you know. And there's Karnak temples, by the way, John and I. So that was a fun book.
You know what I like about when you write stuff is you not only wrote the book, but you went there and explored it. And, you know, you have firsthand experience, whereas there's a lot of people that they just do research in books, papers, and things like that. And then they write it down in their own version, never actually setting foot on the places that they're talking about.
Oh,
you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. There are places I would love to see. I have always wanted to go to Israel, mostly because my early training was all biblical training. I was Bible college and seminary and all of that. And way back then, I said, I would love to go to Israel and see the places where things took place. Now, of course, the more... Hello? Is there anybody doing radio in the house? So stay out of my bedroom.
Before you talk about Israel for a second, I want to ask you something about Israel and the Bible and what blew my mind at one point in time. And this is what really didn't make sense to me. And it seems to be a misconception that when you talk about Christmas and the baby Jesus laying in the manger, and they put up all these little mangers with this wood little hut and the baby laying in a crib and all the animals running around, etc., etc. And then one day I learned that it was like a cave or something. So then I did a little research on Israel, or, you know, that area anyway. And I found out there's no trees. They don't have wood. That manger, the thing would have been all rock or stone or mud or
That's
clay.
why things like the Temple of Solomon was built out of cedars from Lebanon. They had them all shipped in from the north.
Yeah, that manger, that thing, they wouldn't have used wood for the animals. The wood was for the people.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an important thing. That wooden manger would have been worth a fortune, really, because it's made of wood. It had to
don't put food in that.
Don't let the animals chew on it. I know what a horse does or a cow does to a piece of wood. They chew on it until it's really ruined. I mean, so then I researched a little bit, And there's ton of people don't realize that half of Israel is underground. Is that not true?
Oh. I lost part of your sentence there. You froze up a little bit.
People don't realize that half of Israel is underground.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be fascinating. Okay, go back to the Israel thing. I just wanted to bring that up because I was blown away, because that just changes the whole outlook of
it. Does. Now I will put this caveat on. Over the years, in the things I researched, there are certain things about certain Bible stories where I say, we don't know if that's an actual story or if that's a legend that is built up and become myth. But we do know things like King David. We know King David existed. I don't care how much controversy there is. He was a real guy. We did that. I did that series on my show a couple of years ago. King David, the true story of how did I put it? The real life story of an invented hero. Is that David, a lot of the story we read in the Bible about him is apologetic in nature. You can see that, and there's all reasons behind why I can emphatically make that statement. He probably was not as nice a guy as he comes across in the Bible. You probably wouldn't have liked him. He was a warrior. He was a killer. He was a harsh man. He was, yes, the sweet psalmist of Israel. Yes, he was a harpist. He sang. Yes, he wrote some psalms and songs in some of his days. But at the same, and the Bible calls him the man after God's own heart. Now, can somebody who committed probably 10 murders in his life, even though they weren't all with his own hand, he was a king, he was a Middle Eastern monarch, he killed people to get where he was. And but he was still considered to be God's man. Oh, I might have lost you. I think I lost you. But an interesting story. I would like to see some of the places that are associated with King David. And if you're still out there, I did not cut you off. I think you just dropped. Sorry about that. There you are. Oh, it says devices, add to stream. There you are. Sorry about that. Lost you for a minute.
Yeah, I know. This is North Dakota, so
there you go.
Yeah.
So I want to see some of the places associated with David. I'd like to see the battle with Goliath took place in a certain valley, the Valley of Elah. And that valley is still there today, of course.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it. There's not like housing or anything. The Bible tells you the Philistines were encamped on one side. There's ruins of the Philistine camps. Like you find Roman camps that have walls and things. There's the Philistine camp is there. You can see where Israel was encamped on the other side of the valley. And this is where David had his historic biblical confrontation with Goliath. And the problem is we don't know how much of that story is apologetic. Because
I got a small question for you. Now,
yes.
you've been there, right? And
I haven't been to Israel.
Or
yet.
No, not to Israel, but I mean, you've been over that way.
Yeah.
And my big question in the whole thought of things, as my mind is learning new things, is what are these people over there fighting over? In today's world, we fight over oil, riches of, things like that, rare minerals, farmland. But a lot of these things, they're just barren desert.
I know.
You're marching your armies hundreds of miles to fight in a valley over a desert for what? To who? To
birthright.
What end? Yeah, birthright.
They call it birthright. You look at the biblical story of Jacob and Esau, the sons of Isaac, who was the son of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
I've got kids. Sorry, everybody listening. I've got kids screaming and crying and fussing who don't really care that I'm on radio. So that's the beautiful thing. Yeah, they don't care that mom doesn't feel good either. So they're constantly bugging her. So you have to put up with children making fussing sounds while I'm on radio. over actually nothing when you think about it. We're adults, so we deal with things differently. Oh, to make mom breakfast.
Yes.
There you go.
It's called having a family. Gotta love
It's called
it, right?
having, an open studio to the family. So anyway, trying to think of what the original question was, and I was expounding on.
You were talking about fighting over this desert land.
Oh yeah,
yes.
What's going on over there? The whole story of Isaac's sons, Jacob and Esau. How Jacob stole the birthright from Esau. He tricked it out of his father, who was in his dotage and blind and all of that, and stole the birthright of the older brother. And so Esau and Jacob were constantly at odds with each other. That's supposed to have been the origins. At the time that story was written, they were already at odds. The Arabic tribes and the Israelite tribes. They were already in conflict, and that was their etiology of that story with the two brothers who he sold his birthright for a mess of pottage, for a bowl of soup, basically, because he was starving. Went out hunting, couldn't find any food or game, came back starving. And his brother's cooking this nice stew. I got this nice stew here, man, out of veggies. Oh, man. Does that smell good? Esau's like, I need some of that. Give me some of that. He goes, I'll give you soup so you don't die if you sell me your birthright. Fine, the birthright's yours. Give me a bowl of soup. That's probably what it amounted to. And then when it came down to actually happening, Esau just about killed his brother Jacob because he took him literally. And they've been at war ever since, according to the biblical story.
Well, the birthright ain't going to do you much good if you starve to death and die
That's
anyway.
That's it.
Yeah.
So Leslie said, I don't know if it's true, but I heard when the Palestinians took that land from Israel, it dried up and died. Well, they didn't do anything with it. That's the thing. When Israel started coming back into the land with the kibbutzes and all in the early 1900s, under the Palestinian Mandate and British, government and all of that, they started reclaiming the land, and they always had problems with the Palestinians who lived there. And it wasn't a state of Israel. It was just Jews were going over and resettling in what was their historic homeland, even though their family tree is Polish or their family tree was German or Austrian or whatever. And but they all started going back over for personal and spiritual reasons. It might be like the same kind of reason I might go to Wales someday and want to build a cottage there and enjoy the land because this is where my people came from, type of thing.
Yeah, so you kick Farmer Brown out of his house.
Take right.
Take his land, then you plow it up, cut his favorite trees down, his cousins and relatives who live everywhere. See you putting up fences and doing it your way because you're really not from there. And guess what's going to happen? They're going to be at war with you.
Yep. And that's by the time you've got the reformation of the state of Israel in 1948, 49. What's been going on for the last 50 years? You've had Jews coming in, resettling in the land, building up they basically reclaimed a dust bowl, a sand pit, and turned it into an agricultural garden. And the Palestinians are like, that was our sand pit, and my father's father's father. And the Jews were like, well, before you guys came, we had it. And so we're reclaiming it. And then, of course, the UN voted in that the state of Israel would be recognized in 1949 with Ben Gurion and all of those people who put that together. And so you want to read a good book on the formulation of the state of Israel, fictional book. Read Leon Uris. And there was a movie made about it in the 50s starring Paul Newman. But you get the book Exodus by Leon Uris, Uris, who wrote about the formation of the state of Israel in the 40s. And a very, very good book. I read that years ago. And that's where you've probably heard the theme music without even knowing it's from. If you're in an elevator someday, or you hear that theme, it's that one that goes bum 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 dun 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 dun. It's that theme music is from that movie. Excellent.
Oh yeah. Paul Newman, you said.
So yeah, Paul Newman was in it.
Okay.
He played Ari Ben Kanan, and it's funny, that reminds me, way back in the 80s, my former wife was worked for IBM. She was an executive at IBM, and one of the guys she worked with, his name was David Benari. Now, I had just read Exodus, and I'm reading all about Ari Ben Kanan, and David Benari was a Jewish man, but his name was actually David Ben Ari.
Oh.
And I remember talking to him once and referring to him once as David Ben Ari, the Ben being the Jewish division of the son of Ari, like Ari Ben Kanan. And she said, it's pronounced, you don't have to call him Ben Ari, it's Ben Ari. I said, well, I prefer the traditional way. But, and he was like, I don't care. Hey. So, but going to Israel, I'd love to see Israel. When I went to Egypt, it was, there were places, we were in Luxor, where John lived. He has a house over on the east bank of Luxor, is where the big city is, and big, quote unquote, sprawling city. All the temples are over there and all of that. But you go over to the West Bank is where all the funerary temples were, the west side of the river. And there's of course a settlement. There's a town over there, and a lot of traffic, but not like you'd think downtown New York or anything. It's just a small town with traffic on the roads. And John lived there, and you go about 5 minutes to 10 minutes west of him, and you start hitting all the Temple Row. You hit the tombs of the nobles. You would hit Deir el-Bahri. You would hit, which is Hatshepsut's funerary temple. I'll show you. It's right here. And you'd hit all these temples of all these different. This is the only picture I think in the book I have of the temple of Hatshepsut, who figures prominently in my story of Moses. I believe she was the Pharaoh's daughter that found the baby Moses in the Nile. But this is, you've probably seen the temple before. That's the temple of Deir el-Bahri. That's the funerary temple of Hatshepsut. That's her. And it's got 3 ramps that come out and go down to the road. And it's set in this little crescent of the Theban Mountains, the cliffs. On the other side of that is the Valley of the Kings. So you could really, if you climb to the top of that ridge, you just go over the ridge, you're down in the Valley of the Kings. So it's technically, as the crow flies, half a mile away, if that, quarter of a mile away to Valley of the Kings.
Yeah, but that picture you showed, that's the one they always show.
Yes.
You know, when they, I hate, and you're kind of clearing something up, because that's the one they always show when they talk about the Valley of the Kings. They show that picture though.
Right.
Did you ever
and
notice
this
that?
Isn't in the Valley of the Kings at all. This is on the west side of the that's the Theban Mountains up above. And it's not like mountains like the Rocky Mountains. It's big cliffs and ridges. And you're almost seeing the top of it there. John has gone, and his wife, they went horseback riding up there on the trails up there. But you go right over the top of that, and you're in the Valley of the Kings. And so, and her tomb is actually on the other side in the Valley of the Kings. So
I did not. I'm learning something today, because, like I said, that's a very misconception. They want to take a picture of the Valley of the Kings, and then they put that there, and then I've always thought, every time I've seen that picture, that's in the Valley of the Kings. Wrong.
And there is, just to the southwest of that, as the mountaintops kind of trail off there is this place. There's another picture of John and I. That's the Colossi of Memnon. and his candidate for Moses. But you see this picture here. Now, that right there, image I showed, there is a lake there that's a dry lake. And it looks now like this. It's just agricultural farmland. It's this right here, that area. And there's a little village that crops up out of it, the village of Qom, and we're standing, that's Qom in the middle picture there. And but this area, and you see the Sahara Desert out beyond it, this is that sacred lake. It was a man-made lake by Amenhotep III, who created that. And I showed this. They had canals that went down to the river, out the front end here, and you see the desert in the back end in the west. And this was a big lake. It was about 1.5 miles long by about 1 mile wide. And the village of Qom is over in here. And this was all flooded. And the walls broke at one point. And John thinks that was the animus for the 10 plagues. And I disagree with him, but there it is. That was the fun part of our book, was going back and forth in the book between our two theories. But you can go there. That's just right to the southwest of that, those temples. But we went to all these temples, and I was talking about being there. There's nothing like reading about something and being invested in researching something, and then you actually get to go visit the spot. Now, I don't know if I still have you live. You look frozen up on this end. You still there? I may have lost you. You may have frozen up. But for everybody listening, and for you too, when you get to that, I'm going to turn you off here. Call me back if you get back online. There's something happened there. There, the stream just ended, and so there's nothing like putting your feet in the sand and say, this thing happened here. When we went to Deir el-Medina, which is just a little bit, again, it's between that big lake and the temples I was showing you of Hatshepsut. Deir el-Medina, you go into the temple there, into the Holy of Holies. You're crossing the threshold there, and it's stone, and it's all, it's all shallowed out from the thousands of years of people stepping on it. And I stood there with John in that doorway, and I stopped on that threshold, and I said, whoever Moses was, he stepped on this door, on this threshold. His feet touched this. This is the original threshold that's been here for 3,500 years. And it's all, hollowed out from stepping on it. And to say, I stood in a place where Moses would have stood, would have walked, would have passed over. It was very interesting for me. So, Matt Finn, I've seen those videos. I've listened to that guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That is a very likely candidate for Mount Sinai. It has all the features that seem to work. John and I wrote about Serebet el-Khadim in the Sinai, and we were there. And I know it was Flinders Petrie, archaeologist in the late 1800s, early 1900s, who said he believed that Serebet el-Khadim was the Mount Sinai of the Bible. Of course, David Roll came along and he told me, well, no, it wasn't. It was one of the places they stopped after the Exodus and picked up the slaves that were working in the copper mines there. I think there's a lot of telltale signs about Serebet el-Khadim. I'm sure Moses would have been there at one point, no matter if that was Sinai or not. The site in Saudi Arabia, on the other side of the peninsula, across the Gulf of Aqaba, is it? No, not the Red Sea, the other one dividing the Sinai, on the Sinai side, on the Saudi Arabian side. That could very likely be the spot. And there's so many artifacts and rock art and all of that would lead one to believe that this could very well be the spot. So I'd like to find out more about that. I mean, I'll hear and see more research being done on that. But the Saudis don't let anybody in there, and it's all barbed wired off. Why is that? You know why? For the same reason, answering the earlier question posed to me, why are they always fighting with each other over there? There's religious reasons. I think if the Saudis let anybody in there and they reveal that that actually is the site of Mount Sinai and all of that, that Israel will claim it, and they'll go to war over that. And so there's all this stuff. When I talk about Avaris, the city that the Israelites would have built, which is beneath Pi-Ramses, which is where the Bible says, and the Pharaoh made had the Israelites build the cities of Pithom and Ramses. That would be Ramses II. That's why they placed the Exodus under Ramses II. That's false. They built the city underneath it. Ramses reclaimed those cities and made them his treasure cities. When he said the Hebrews built his treasure cities of Pithom and Ramses, he's right. But they didn't build them while he was alive. They built them a generation or two earlier. The city of Avaris. But why does Egypt not allow you to excavate? If you mention the Exodus and the Israelites, you're not allowed to excavate there. Why? Because they don't want to give Israel the right to claim it. So there it is. It's that kind of thing. This is why this stuff always goes on. So anyway, there we go. If you ever get the chance to travel there, it's worth doing it. To step somewhere where something happened. I had that same feeling when I went to Glencoe, Scotland. Very familiar mountains that you've seen in all the movies. When they go to Scotland, you see this mountain that comes out, and there's this valley between there. You see it all the time in the movies, but very famous spot. Well, Glencoe is down in there. Glencoe is where the massacre took place in the 1590s, I believe it was, late 1500s. And those who would not have been there need to King George of time. And the McDonald's came in and slaughtered families there. You go there now. It's a peaceful, wonderful place. There's a public park there. There's a beautiful stream running through it, and you stand in there. But the feeling is palpable of what took place there. I'm standing on the spot where this happened. You go to, when I was in England and Scotland, you get that same feeling everywhere you go. This happened here. This is the spot where Anne Boleyn was beheaded by Henry VIII. This spot. They've got it marked there. You stand there and you go, this is where this happened. History happened here, right here. And so that's always interesting for me. There's not a number, Steph, but here is the link. You go to that link, and you'll pop up on my screen, and I can bring you in. So Matt Finn says that site in Saudi Arabia has way more physical attributes. You can go look at there today. Oh, do they let you in there now? I know that there are calves that are inscribed all over the rocks there. There's Proto-Hebrew is found there, just as in the mountains right around Sarabat al-Khadim. There's the split rock where it says Moses hit the rock, and it's split in two, and a spring gushed forward to water the people. So it's interesting. The mountain with the burned top on it, this is Mount Sinai, they say. So it's very interesting. So let's see what else we got going on. See you, Romeldian. Glad to have you here. Discovery Media are working on it. Very good. That's cool. I want to see more about that. I want to see what they drum up, all the evidences they drum up. So now David said that the Mount Serebet El Kadim that we wrote, that we thought was the Mount Sinai of the Bible, it fits a lot of the criteria. He said that was one of the stopping points. About a week after the Exodus, they stopped there and picked up more of the slaves that joined them in the Exodus, and that the mountain's called something in the Bible. And I saw the passage. I don't remember what the name was called, but they stopped there to gather up more of the people and on their way to the promised land. Yeah, there you go. Well, he's got something else in there. So there's the link, if you didn't see it, that Matt Finn put up. You can copy that. I don't think you can click on it, but you can copy that and go view that. So, all right. Was somebody going to call in, Steph? Is that why you asked for the link? Are you calling in? Because if not, I'm going to start wrapping this up. Hey, Delaney. She said, I'd like to see a group of psychic mediums go to Israel to prove or debunk Jesus. I don't think they'll ever be able to, Delaney, to tell you the truth. We had Chris Conway come with us to Egypt, and he picked up a lot of stuff. It wasn't in regard to Israel, but I think you get impressions, and probably been done to a certain extent already as well. But be interesting stuff. I don't think you can debunk or prove Jesus. I think you could probably say, yeah, I think this guy lived. Whether you'll ever be able to prove he was the Son of God, never going to happen. Unless God himself comes down and, in Jesus' sandals and says, yeah, I'm he. It's a faith issue. So, but yeah, I would think that a psychic could pick up on some of that. If God wanted them to, there's the other side of that story. Maybe they can't because maybe God doesn't want them to. Why wouldn't God want them to? I think that'd be really cool. Could put the answer to bed for a lot of people. The question to bed. All right. Well, you know what? If nobody's got anything else, I think we'll start to wrap this up over the next few minutes. And I want to thank you all for being here. We're not leaving yet, so don't just ditch like at the movie theater and miss all the exciting stuff at the end credits. So I hope you're not one of those people. And if you are, I'm going to talk directly to you right now. Stop doing that shit. The ends of movies nowadays, especially your big epic movies. Oh, why does everybody get up when the credits start rolling? What the hell is with that? Oh, I got to rush to my car. Aren't you there to have fun and be entertained? Oh, hey, there's Steph. Hey, Steph.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Oh, and my dog says
good. You're looking mighty fabulous, I might say.
Thank you.
Wait, fabulous is a gay word. You're looking hot. There you go. That's a non-gay word.
Put your glasses on.
Sure.
So I have a question for you about your
book
for the what is it? For the
Upstart, the
Kickstarter. The Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So if we do that and buy it, will you read to us, do like an audiobook?
Sure.
Because I listened to your excerpt and it was amazing. And hello everybody in chat.
Thank you. I read through the book, the whole book. Did I do it on a Sunday a month ago or 6 weeks ago? I think I read the whole book. Now that was before I had it edited. We had an editor take it and we rewrote some stuff. We didn't really change the story, but there were parts of the story where she said, you mentioned this. She said, the story, when you're writing it, the whole thing is in your head. So if you make a reference to something, it might in your head make sense, but it might not make sense on paper if that reference wasn't earlier in the book. And so she brought up a couple of spots where, like Marius Abruzzo gets his horse back. Where did he get his horse from? That they take your horses. You're not allowed to have them when you join the Roman army. Where has his horse been? Because I had written about how this was his horse.
Hopefully they didn't.
So I filled in those blanks. Little thing, it wasn't required for the story flow, but it set in a couple of lines. It fixed that. She thought I didn't make much mention of the Abruzzo boy's mother, but then I bring her up, and so I made sure I fixed that. Little things like that. The battle that takes place, the Roman battle that takes place, I had to fill in some of the gaps on that, and so
I would really love to hear you read that.
Well, thank you. I'll do it as soon as the book is out. We'll do that. And that Kickstarter should be. It said when I submitted it, it says up to 72 hours. You have to submit it. Kickstarter reviews it. Make sure you followed all the rules. Make sure everything works and looks right. And then they give you the go ahead, punch this button, and you're live. I submitted it on Thursday evening. And so we've got, so it's, and then it said, your review, you'll know what's going on by the 1st of March, which is now only day after tomorrow.
Okay.
So that would probably be the latest that would start up. I was hoping that it would happen quicker than that, but we haven't heard yet, and we got a weekend in the middle of this, so probably be Monday or Tuesday before we're able to actually go live. And some of the levels on that, just for everybody listening, it's basically to pre-order the book. You can go in and pre-order the book.
Oh, okay.
And the book is the market value on a book like this is between $26.95 and $32.95. I've got it at $29.95. That magic psychological number.
Yep.
It's not $30
it's
yet.
Under $30.
Yeah, that's right. And unless you're in Canada, it's 37 Canadian dollars. But so you can go in and pre-order the book, but I have higher levels where you can get stuff, little things. Bookmark I designed.
I want on that higher level. I would like to hear you read an audio book, because the way you read is fantastic.
Well, thank you. It's and this story was fun to write because it's inside my head, and it was a story that I wanted to tell, and it was all the elements of that story. There were very emotional parts of that story that you try to write that and make that into something that's going to appeal to somebody. Will Bird, his younger brother, his little brother dies in battle. That's why he goes and joins the army. The ghost of his brother he sees in the wheat field. The ghost of his brother he believes saved his life at Vimy Ridge by waking him up. Ghosts Have Warm Hands was the name of his memoir of the war. And apparently there were even other ghost stories that I didn't put into the book that Will Bird experienced. Mario Abruzzo and his brothers, the tight brotherhood of these guys, the affinity they had with their father. This is all stuff that I try. The book is kind of subtitled on the front cover. It says the story of brotherhood and honor that spans 2,000 years. And so the sword being found. If you've seen some of the illustrations at the very end of the book, when the story's all over, the last illustration is it shows Marius Abruzzo from 2,000 years ago and Will Bird in his uniform standing waist deep in a wheat field, and Will's got the sword and he's kind of presenting it to Marius Abruzzo. Now, that never happened that we know. It's all made up. Marius Abruzzo is made up. He's a fictional character to give the sword a backstory. But so I've got the true story mixed with the made up story, and so it's fun to read. I think there's not much I write that I personally haven't so invested myself in that I couldn't say that's no fun to read.
For what I heard, it sounds amazing. So
well, thank you. I
also want to say hello to everybody in chat. I can't see chat, and don't be making fun of me.
Oh, is there a reason you can't see it? Is it just not coming through on
I don't know how to work these things.
Oh, That's weird. On Facebook, it should
Oh,
just
wait a minute, chat.
automatically appear.
Well, look
Or,
at
I'm sorry,
push a button. I
YouTube.
can push a button. Chat. Do you still have me on camera though?
You're on camera.
Oh, okay. I still have a blank screen. Oh well.
Hmm.
But okay, I wanted to call.
Oh,
in.
sorry.
No,
You
I just
can't
wanted to
chat
call
in
in
there.
and find out about that. I'm gonna pop off and I'll go back into chat and run my
Oh.
errands. But it was nice seeing you,
kick-
Raini. I said hello.
Nice seeing you too.
right.
I appreciate your calling in.
Thank you for taking my call.
Nice to see you, Steph.
I'm glad you're feeling much better, Scotty.
Thank you. I'm feeling like $1 million.
Okay, cool.
So that's good.
All right, mushies. I'm going back into chat.
With Biden's inflation, that's 7 million.
Oh.
So okay.
Let's not go there.
Don't get me started.
I'm leaving for Daytona Bike Week Thursday.
All right.
So I can't wait.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good time.
But all right. Thank you very much. I'm
See
going
you,
back
Steph.
into chat.
Cuervo Queen. All right. Folks, yeah, like she mentioned, that Kickstarter is going to be out really any time now. Any day. All we're waiting on is for it to be approved by blah 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 by Kickstarter. So that's coming any day. They're gonna approve it, and it's gonna be live. And I would love for all of you to go over and get a book at least. And there's other levels that you can contribute. There are higher levels. There's like a $250 level where I think you get signed artist prints. I would have to look through those levels again to see where all these things come in. There's levels where you pay a few bucks extra, you get the bookmark that's designed specifically for the book, and it's oversized. They're actually rack cards. They're like 3.5 inches by almost 9 inches, I think, 2-sided. And we're going to do, of course, tumblers, like these for the book with Marius Abruzzo on it. And there's going to be artist prints that you can get, things like that. And at the upper levels, you get a couple of books. You get there's a level where you get a signed book that's personally signed for you. And we've even got $1,000 level on there. Now, we've broken these down. We call them like the foot soldier, these levels, the foot soldier, the legionnaire, the centurion, the whatever, goes all the way up to the Caesar. Now, that isn't just to buy a book, obviously. That is if you want to put money into a Manitou Free Traders Press, the publishing company. This is one that Ryan Gale and I, the man who put the money forward to have me write and illustrate the book and is also publishing the book, we in a sense talked him into wanting to start a little publishing company of doing these kinds of books on a regular basis. And so what this Kickstarter also does is throw money toward Manitou Free Traders Press to continue to create this kind of book. And so there's that highest level of all, that if you've got money to invest in things, it's a donation to this cause to help that continue the work here. There are other levels in between there as well for doing similar kinds of things. So this isn't just about putting $30 out toward a book, although the primary reason is to give you a chance to pre-order the book for $30 over at the Kickstarter. And it's going to be $30 plus it throws the shipping of the book on top of it. So there's that, but then there's also the supporting the effort to create something better and to keep doing these kinds of things. So there you go. That's what it's all about. Watch for that. I'll be announcing it on my Facebook. If you aren't on Facebook or not don't have me friended on Facebook, you might not see it. We'll announce it here as well when it comes out. Hey, Steph, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. So, and Leslie, I think that there's a level for getting 2 books as well. Saves you a couple of bucks, I think. Yeah, Steph, you look great. Good to have you on. So, hey, Lewis, good to see you. If there's anybody I missed saying hello to this morning, hello, if I missed you. So there it is. I was talking about if you get up when the credits start rolling, you miss some good stuff at the end of the show. And why do people, I'm going to throw that out to you. I've talked about this before. I've ranted about it before. Why is it built into people to stand up during the credits in a movie theater? That's part of the show. There's people who like to watch that or listen to the music, see some of the names involved. Nowadays, they throw these surprise clips at the end. And like in the Ghostbusters movie that just came out, there's 2 really cool surprise clips at the end in 2 different places during the credits. There's 2/3 of the theater got up, 3/4 of the theater got up and left before they even played. It's like, do you bozos know what you just missed? And what's the press to get out of the movie theater while the credits are rolling? Just sit till it's over. Well, I got to beat that guy out the door so I don't have to wait an extra 2 minutes to get to my car. Well, whatever. So, you're getting up with everybody else anyway, 3/4 of the people. Why don't you just wait till the credits are over? The crowd's thinner. And it gives respect for the movie makers. I taught my kids it's not a big thing about life. It's not a character development thing or anything like that. But I've taught my kids sit through the credits because you're paying respect to the people who made the movie. And now you get cool clips at the end of the credits too. Yeah. The crowd's thinner and there's less cars. So what? So it takes you an extra 4 minutes to get out of the parking lot. So what? It's worth it. It's respect the movie makers, watch the end clips, see those cool clips that you don't see if you leave early. That's my thinking. And then I stay to watch that stuff and everybody's standing up in front of me. It's like, sit down. The movie's still playing. That's a pet peeve of mine. I love the movies. I love the big screen and the big sound. That's why I want a 75-inch TV at home. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? With a big sound system rigged up. You can have an in-home movie theater. That would be kind of fun. So, anyway, there you go, folks. Yeah, people are conditioned to be short on time and constantly on to the next thing. You're right, Matt Finn. That's exactly what it is. I got to get out of here. I got to beat the traffic. You know what? There's going to be traffic if you leave now or 8 minutes from now. There's still going to be traffic. So, yeah, for most people, Roger Rabbit says the moment they get there to where they're going, all they want to do is get back home. That's like, have you ever been out to eat with people where as soon as you're done eating, you take that last bite, somebody's already pushing their plate away and standing up. Let's get out of here. It's like, relax. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let's chat a bit. And tip, accordingly. I'm taking up 10 extra minutes here or 15 extra minutes for this table, and I'll tip my my waitstaff accordingly. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. So, Steph, I'm always rushing around. We're always rushing around too. There's always somewhere to go and have to. I get that. Raini gets it. You and Raini need to talk, Steph. Raini's always running. She's been more tired out lately because she's got so much going on. And she doesn't work a regular job outside the house. She doesn't have to go punch a clock from 9 to 5 every day. Her clock is right here at home. And she's constantly running for the kids, constantly running for the family. Does her massages once or twice a week, or trying to run her tumbler business and things like that. You can see it, by the way. You can go to the website. It's down here. There it is. mersquatchtumblers.com. And so you can go over and take a look at her tumbler business. And not everything's up there. Hey, Waylon, how you doing? So, there it is, guys. That's today. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the time that you've given me. I appreciate, even I took almost 6 months off. You realize it's been 6 months since I've been officially off the air. October to November, December, January, February. It's going to be March. Almost 5 months since I stepped out of doing Intrepid Radio full time. Well, we're going to be going back into that very soon. So you all just stand by. It's going to happen. So I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. It's 11:07 Central Standard Time, Sunday morning. Take time today. Have a good day. Steph, slow it down. Have a good day. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll see you soon. I'll probably do a quick show that's not going to be much more. I'll just come in impromptu as soon as this Kickstarter is released. And we launch it the next day or two. And I'll get on and I'll talk about it and give everybody the link and so on. So watch for that announcement to come. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. See you soon. And you know what? Live long and prosper.